Okay, this is a quick guide to get you started on Knightlab Timeline. To remind you, Knightlab Timeline creates this kind of thing. It's a way to tell a story over a period of time using pictures and video and words. It's nice and it's interactive, and it's a good way it's good for like nostalgia pieces or pieces about kind of historic events, and for telling a story over a period of time. So I'm going to tell you explain how to do that now. The first thing to do is make sure you've got a Google account and you're logged into your Google account. Use Gmail. That's the best way to do it. You will need Google Drive for this because everything is hosted on there. And then go to Knightlab Timeline and you will get this. And basically follow the steps on the screen. So make a timeline, and then item 1, get the spreadsheet template. Click that. And if you're logged into Google, what you then do is click use this template. And what that will do is save the template to your Google Drive so you can then tinker with it. So what we have here is just a random template that Knightlab have put together. And you create the timeline itself by changing the information that's in this template, and then that translates into a timeline. So you don't upload your content directly to a timeline framework. You create it here and then you publish it, and then you look to see how it looks as the final product and the finished timeline. So the first thing to do is give it a new name. So okay, change the name, and that will save to your Google Drive. And then you want to delete all the information from row 2 down to row 9. Keep the menu option the same at the top. So I'll highlight all that and then just press delete. And now you can start customizing it yourself. So you put the years that you want to display on the timeline here. You could put month, day, and time if you like. If you're doing a timeline about something over the course of 100 years, you'd probably only want the year and the month. But you might want to do a timeline about something over the course of a day or over the duration of a couple of hours, like the presidential debates or a football match or a gig or something like that. In which case you would put in the time values as well. Now you fill this one out if you just want one single time period to show up on the timeline. If you want to show a duration of an event, so a start and then a finish time and date, you would fill out both of these values. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to type in some random values here. The other thing to say is that make sure that the dates are in sequence from the oldest, the furthest back to the most recent here, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't sort them in order. So I'm just going to put 3 random dates in there. The display date, that's the thing that you want to show up. So I'm going to put these in. The headline is obviously the main thing that will show up on the front end. So this thing here. So I'm gonna just put some words here. The text box is you want to put in a good amount of content here, a good couple of paragraphs, well written, interesting stuff. Showcase your skills as a writer. I'm just going to randomly put that in. Now the slightly complicated bit about this is to add photos and video. You don't upload them directly because there's nowhere for them to go. So what you need to do is publish them somewhere else and put the link to that published photo or video into this box. Now the easiest way to do that is you've taken your photos, you've downloaded them to your desktop, or you've curated some pictures from social media and you've saved them to your desktop. Then the best thing to do is upload them to your Google Drive. So have a little folder of your Google Drive pictures, and you want to link to these. Now at the moment, everything on your Google Drive, everything here is private. You need a login, you need the email address and a login to see these, so that's no good. So what you need to do for any picture you want to use, click on it and change the share settings. So find that menu and find that, and then click advanced. See, at the moment it's private, so no one will be able to see it if you put that link in. So we will change it and change it to anyone with the link and save that. Now copy that link and that's the link that you want in. I'm just going to randomly put the same photo in 3 times just to show how this works. So now we're happy with that. That will show up. Media credit, that's where you put in the name of the person who owns that photo. You're always going to have to attribute the photo to the rightful author. So it might be their Twitter handle or their full name, whatever it is they want to be cited as, or it might be your own work, so you put your own name in. Also, if you want to put a video in here, you get the link from YouTube. So if you publish your video on YouTube, make sure it's set to public and put that link in. Vine works as well. If you create a Vine, or you find a Vine you like, you can use that. There's a couple of different things that work, so just play around with it. Again, put in a caption for each one. Blah, 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 blah. A thumbnail, it's good to put a thumbnail in as well because it makes the timeline look a bit more interesting. So that's the main media that shows up there, and that is the timeline, the thumbnail that shows up there. So it's worth adding a thumbnail there as well. I'll just put in those same photos again just to illustrate how this works. Okay, so once you're happy with your timeline and you've completed it all, it's ready to publish. Remember, it saves automatically as well, so you don't have to click save at any point. So what you would do is you follow the steps that appear on that Knightlab page. So step 2 is under the file menu, select publish to the web. So I go file, publish to the web, publish, yes, okay, get that link. This is the link we want. This isn't the link to our timeline, this is a link to our spreadsheet. And we take that, scroll down, and in section 3, we paste that in there, enter. And now what you have in section 4 is the embed code for your timeline. So you would copy that and paste that into the text page of your WordPress post, and then that will show up automatically within the post. And that looks really nice. Or you can, if you want to share it on Twitter or Facebook or something like that, you can have a look at it using the second link. Okay, so that's just a quick run through an example of how it works. It's a pretty sparse example, pretty straightforward. Okay, and that's it really. The other thing to say is now that it's published, if there's something that you're not happy with in the timeline, you can go back to that same spreadsheet and change the values. So I've changed the date there If I go back to that timeline and refresh, the date will automatically show up on the timeline. So you can, once you've seen it on the timeline, there might be things you're not happy with, things you want to tinker with and improve. You just do it again within your spreadsheet. You don't have to go through the same process of sharing and putting the link in again. It will automatically show up. Okay, that's it. Good luck.